Hey guys, this is Lindsay with Vinyl Gallery and welcome back to my channel. In the spirit of Black History Month, we'll be creating this Black History Inspired scrapbook tumbler with a few fun facts about each person that you'll see displayed. If you'd like to see how we created this look, just keep watching. So for this tumbler, I'm using a 25-ounce skinny straight tumbler from Hog. I have already sanded, cleaned with dish soap and water, and spray painted using Color Shots Vintage Lace. Now I'm just going in with a makeup brush and I'm using the Southern Belle foil adhesive glue, and I'm just going to put a thin coat all the way around, trying to make sure that I don't have any streaks or lines in my glue. Now you can use any adhesive that you like. I just prefer Southern Belle's foil adhesive glue when working with foils. Now you have to be really quick when you work with this adhesive because it does dry really quickly. You'll know that it's dry because it will dry clear and it's very tacky to the touch. I'm just using my heat gun to kind of speed up the process, and then we'll be ready to add our foils. This foil is from Vinyl Gallery. I think the name of it is Rustic Charm, but I'll definitely list the correct name in the description box because it is available for purchase on our website. To get this applied, I'm just going to snip off a piece of the foil big enough to make sure that it goes all the way around the tumbler, and I'm going to flip it over and we'll get ready to apply it to the tumbler. Now, when working with foils, it is absolutely not like applying vinyl, as some of you are kind of used to. Y'all can see I am fighting for my life. I have tried every which way to get this foil to line up and go on straight, and I always have some type of hiccup, but that's fine because I was kind of going for a rustic look anyway. Here lately, I've just been trying to make sure that my foil is flat on my table and I get something to anchor down the side so that it doesn't move. But again, this time it did not do that again. So I'm just taking my hand and burnishing it down. I did give it a little heat with my heat gun, just trying to make sure that all of my glue was tacky enough to pull the foil off clean, and took my large squeegee just to try to get some of those lines out that I did not intend, but it's going to be fine because it's a rustic tumbler look anyway. Now, because we did miss a few spots because my foil crinkled up on me when I sneezed, I'm just taking the extra pieces and just putting it on the spots because there is still glue down. So I am just taking some of the extra foil that I did not use and laying it on the tumbler just to make sure that I can get as much coverage as I can. In the spirit of Black History Month, I did take some cardstock that I purchased from Walmart and I printed out the sheet music for Lift Every Voice and Sing. I originally was going to just tear the sides of the paper to try to give it a vintage look, but it didn't really give the look that I was going for. So I took my kitchen torch and just scorched and burned some of the edges, trying to make it look a little bit more rustic, like the sheet music was old. But y'all, please be very careful when you try this, because you'll see right here, I was fighting for my life again with this torch because it kind of got out of hand. So y'all, please be careful when you're doing this process. And I'm just going to take my kitchen torch and I'm going to burn the edges all the way around before I place it on my tumbler. Now I did go back and reprint this. I did make it a little bit bigger, but on one of my sheets, my fire kind of did get a little bit away from me. So I went back in and reprinted it bigger, but I'm going to do the exact same thing for all the pieces that I'm going to use. Once I got all of my edges scorched and burned, I did go in with my makeup brush and I'm using the foil adhesive again, and I'm going to apply a generous coat all the way around the paper just to make sure that I get some good adhesion when I place it on my tumbler. You definitely want to make sure that you get all the corners and the edges because you don't want it to lift when you apply it to the tumbler and apply your epoxy. I'm using the sheet music as my background because we will be applying several layers of images on top of this, but I am using this as a background. And y'all, this is a very sticky, messy process. And I'm going in again with the same exact method using a bigger piece of sheet music, and I'm just going to apply that to the other side. And this is another reason that I wasn't really too worried about the foil not laying smoothly, because I knew I was going to be covering up a lot of it with images and cardstock anyway. So again, don't worry about it if you make a mistake with your foil because you're definitely going to be using a lot of images to cover up if you decide to make a tumbler like this. Once I had all of my background images placed, I let it sit to the side for about 15 to 20 minutes before I went in with this triple thick gloss glaze from Deco Art. I think I purchased this from Michael's a while back, but this stuff, it is very thick, and you definitely want to make sure that you apply it to the entire image. You don't want to risk the chance of your epoxy repelling, and I have done that before. So I'm just going in with a foam brush and I'm applying it all the way around my tumbler, making sure that I get the sides, and I'm going to let that sit to the side for about 30 minutes or so before I move into epoxy. For this tumbler, I will be using a little extra ink epoxy. I'm using the turbo formula, and because we'll be doing multiple layers of epoxy on this cup, I went in with this because it is a thinner viscosity. I mixed up about 20 milliliters of epoxy for this first go round, and I only applied about 10 milliliters just to coat the cup. And I'm going to take the rest of the epoxy and we're going to mix glitter in to give it a little shimmer. Now, just a little PSA, I am not an affiliate or a brand ambassador for a little extra ink epoxy. However, you'll never see something on my channel that I do not absolutely love and recommend to you guys. So if y'all know them, somebody reach out or tag them in this video and tell them to give me a discount code so that I can share it with you guys, because I really do love their products. Now, because this epoxy is a thinner viscosity, the bubbles rise to the surface immediately, and I'm just going to zap them with my kitchen torch before we move into the glitter. The glitter that I'm using is Vintage from Peachy Olive, Salted Caramel from PDB, and a brown holographic chunky mix from the glitter guy that I'm not going to try to pronounce because I definitely don't want to mess it up. Once I get it all mixed together, I'm going to just take a gloved finger and I'm just going to apply it only where you see the foil. I'm going to do my very best not to get it on my background images because I definitely don't want to mess those up. But as you can see, it matches almost perfect with the foil that I chose. Once I have all of my glitter applied, I'm going to go back in with my torch just to pop any bubbles that I may have created. I'm going to let this sit off to the side for about 3 hours before we're ready to move to the next step of this scrapbook tumbler. Now that this layer of epoxy has cured, we're going to move right into the next steps. I found some really interesting news clippings from back in the 60s that was referencing the Montgomery bus boycott. So I'm going to use the exact same process, and I'm going to take the foil adhesive and I'm going to apply those to the tumbler. All of the images that I'll be using for this particular tumbler, they were printed on cardstock paper. Now, I did not go in and seal them after they were printed, but I did not have any issues with ink running or smearing. Now again, this is a very sticky, messy process, so make sure you're wearing gloves if you don't want glue on your hands, and then try not to touch the edges because you definitely don't want your edges to lift once you apply your epoxy. One thing that I will say is that you definitely want to avoid layering images, especially in the same layer, because epoxy can get trapped under the image. This first image is of Madam C.J. Walker. She is the inventor of the hot comb and other African American hair products. And I can definitely tell you some stories about the hot comb, but that's a different story for a different day. This next image is of Harriet Tubman, and she was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. We are placing Malcolm X right up under Harriet Tubman. He was also very instrumental in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. This next image is of Miss Shirley Chisholm. She was the first African American woman to be elected to the United States Congress in 1968. This next civil rights leader is none other than Miss Rosa Parks. Miss Rosa Parks did not give up her seat on the bus back in the 60s, so that is what sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Now that we've had a brief history lesson, I'm going to let these images dry for about 20 minutes. Then I'm going to go in with the triple thick gloss glaze from Deco Art. I'm going to apply that all over the surface of every image. I'm going to set that off to the side and let that dry for about an hour, and then we're going to go right back in with about 15 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy. The vinyl that I'm using for my decal is from Teckwrap Craft. It is the champagne gold textured metallic vinyl, and I am just taking my time to weed this because the writing was very thin, so I had to be extra careful not to tear or rip any of the letters. Now, y'all don't judge me, but y'all know I have told y'all time and time again that I am still learning this Cricut, and I don't have my settings down just yet, but we're working on it. We're getting there. After I finally got it all weeded, I did take the yellow lined transfer tape to pick up this vinyl because that is specifically made for this textured vinyl, and I just used the hinge method to apply We the People in 1865. I guess one of the things that I wish I could change about me making this tumbler is I wish I had separated We the People from 1865 and placed it a little bit more strategic on this tumbler because you really can't see it, but it's on there, and I'm just going to carefully remove this transfer tape, and you want to be very careful because it is extremely sticky. Now, y'all, I thought I was done adding images until I looked down and saw that I had left off Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. So I did apply her image the exact same way that I did the others using the Southern Belle foil adhesive. I went in with Adhesive Apothecary's binding potion to seal in my vinyl while Kamala Harris's image dried. I did seal hers with the triple thick glaze, and then once that was all dry, we were ready for our final 2 coats of epoxy. For my final 2 coats of epoxy, I am using a little extra ink, but I'm not going to use the turbo. I'm only going to use their regular formula. And for this coat, I mixed up about 20 milliliters of epoxy, and I applied 15 because in the last 5 milliliters, we're going to use a little opal glitter to give it a little bit more shimmer and sparkle. The glitter that I'm using is from 4K Glitter Co., and this is Fairy Dust in the chunky version. We do have an ultra fine and a fine version, and this will be added to the website hopefully very soon. Once I was done applying all of my glitter, I did go in with my torch just to pop any micro bubbles that I may have created, and my final coat took about 20 milliliters to become completely smooth. And here it is. This is the final coat, and I am so very pleased with how this turned out. But here is the finished product. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in to this tutorial. If you like what you saw, be sure to give us a huge thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I'll try to list everything that I use in the description box below, as well as any discount codes that I may have. Until next time, bye.